Imagine looking up, maybe late at night, and you see this light. It's definitely not a plane, not a satellite, something else. Silent, maybe glowing, changing color even.
Yeah, that feeling.
Yeah.
It just stops you, doesn't it? Makes you wonder if, reality's got a few more layers than we think.
Exactly. And if that feeling hits home for you, you'll want to stick with us because honestly, watch the video until the end and you will be surprised.
That sense of wonder, maybe even a little bit of unease. That's really what we're digging into today. People have seen strange things in the sky for ages, right?
For sure. And while some sightings get explained away pretty easily, others, well, they stick around. They kind of push at the edges of what we know.
And today we're not just, looking at grainy photos. We're diving into some really fascinating ideas that might just change how you see those lights.
Okay, let's get into it because one of the most compelling perspectives comes from Carl Jung. Brilliant mind.
Absolutely. Jung looked at all these UFO reports cropping up, especially around the mid-20th century, and he didn't just dismiss them. He saw something deeper going on.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Jung started wondering, what if these things aren't just about visitors from space? What if they're also
Reflections of our inner world, yeah.
Yeah.
Symbols bubbling up from what he called the collective unconscious.
Yeah.
It's a pretty radical idea.
Radical, but also kind of intuitive. He saw this potential bridge, didn't he? Between the mystery out there and the landscape inside us.
That's the core of it.
Yeah.
So in this deep dive, we're going to try and weave together some psychology, bit of science, maybe even some spiritual angles to explore what these lights might actually mean for you.
Right. Because maybe you have seen something weird, or maybe you're just fascinated by the whole mystery. There's definitely something bigger happening here.
We've looked at Jung's own writings, of course, but also discussions on UFOs, consciousness research, even some ancient wisdom traditions.
And it all kind of spirals around this big question. Are we looking at proof of ETs? Or are these visions, these lights, maybe shadows of our own minds or deepest stuff?
It's a great question. Maybe not even in either. Let's start with Jung's initial thoughts on how these lights might be while talking to us.
Lights that whisper secrets. UFOs as cosmic mandalas. I like that title. It shifts the whole thing, doesn't it? Instead of just, what is that? Jung asks, what's going on inside the person seeing it?
Yeah, precisely. He thought UFOs could be symbols from the unconscious. And he noticed something really interesting that seemed to pop up more during big societal shifts. Times of major stress.
Like the 1950s, after the war, Cold War ramping up, nuclear anxiety, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And you look around now, climate crisis, AI taking off, just this general feeling of, collective anxiety. It feels similar, doesn't it?
It really does. So Jung saw a link between global stress and these sky symbols.
He did. He even compared the classic flying saucer shape, the circle, to a mandala. Those ancient symbols of wholeness, of integration.
Huh. So maybe when the world feels like it's falling apart, our collective psyche kind of projects an image of unity up there, trying to find balance.
That was his thinking. But it's subtle. He wasn't necessarily saying they're only in our heads. It was more complex.
Right. He left room for them being potentially real, physically real in some way we don't get, but also carrying this huge symbolic weight.
It's a paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
Something that could be both physical and psychological, which makes you ask, why do they keep showing up? Throughout history, different cultures, what are they trying to tell us? Tell you.
Okay, the cosmic mirror, Jung's big idea. Let's unpack that collective unconscious thing a bit more. It's like a shared pool of human stuff.
Yeah, instincts, fears, dreams, archetypes.
Yeah.
The fundamental patterns of human experience deep down. Jung thought that when anxiety levels rise across society, this unconscious stuff gets stirred up.
And it can kind of spill out, manifest symbolically.
You could almost picture it like humanity collectively posting its inner chaos onto the sky. Like a cosmic Instagram feed of our anxieties.
I like that. A cosmic Instagram feed. So the flying saucer, the mandala shape, that's an archetype, a universal symbol.
Exactly. A symbol of wholeness, integration, that craving for balance when everything feels fractured and, messy.
It really makes you think. Have you, listening right now, ever seen something you couldn't explain? Even just a weird light or maybe an orb in a photo you took later?
It happens more than you might think. And with everyone having cameras now sharing instantly, sightings seem way more common, or at least more visible.
But Jung would say it's not just random, right? These things surface when we're wrestling with the big stuff, like who are we, where are we going, what's happening to the world?
Precisely. When our inner world is really churning. So that glowing orb you might have seen, Jung might nudge you and ask, hey, what if that's your psyche trying to get your attention? What's going on inside?
Okay, let's talk science. The science connection more than meets the eye, because it's fascinating how some modern science seems to maybe echo some of Jung's ideas.
It really is. Neuroscience, for example. How our brains actually construct reality, how we make meaning.
Right, like pareidolia, seeing faces in clouds, or the man in the moon. Our brains are desperate to find patterns even in random noise.
Exactly. So it's possible, maybe even likely, that some UFO sightings tap into that mechanism. Your brain sees something ambiguous up there and tries to fit it into a known box, or even projects meaning onto it.
But then you get into the really weird stuff like quantum physics, hinting that reality itself might be, well, less solid than we think.
That's a huge point. Ideas like superposition of particle being in multiple states at once they totally mess with our everyday assumptions. Could a UFO maybe exist in a similar state, both physically there and a symbol? It definitely stretches the mind.
And then there's the research into altered states, like the stuff at Johns Hopkins with psilocybin, people having these profound mystical experiences.
Yeah, and the descriptions often sound very similar to UFO encounters, don't they? Visions of intense light, encountering beings, feeling connected to everything.
The overlap is uncanny. Jung would probably see that as the psyche tapping into something bigger, right? Blurring those lines between inner and outer.
I think he would have been fascinated by that research. So when you put it all together, psychology, neuroscience, quantum physics, these inner experiences, the question gets really blurry. Aliens, hallucinations, glimpses of another dimension.
Or maybe it's not an either-or. Maybe it's somehow all of the above, or something else we haven't even conceived of yet.
That feels closer, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The answer is likely complex, multi-layered, not just one simple thing.
Okay, let's shift again. The spiritual spark, a call to awaken. Because lights in the sky, they've always meant something deep in different cultures, haven't they?
Oh, absolutely. Go back through history across cultures. In Taoism, you have the idea of Shen, the divine spirit, sometimes seen as light, connecting us to the universe. An orb could be seen that way.
And Native American traditions have stories of star beings, right? Guides or ancestors from the heavens. Even in Christianity, light is huge angels, divine presence.
Jung saw the modern UFO thing as potentially tapping into that same ancient archetypal vein, like a modern myth carrying that old spiritual weight, that sense of awe, maybe even revelation.
But he pushes it further, right? What if these lights aren't just pretty or mysterious? What if they're actively calling to you, like, wake up?
That's the provocative edge. Think about when people often have intense UFO experiences or become deeply interested. Sometimes it's during personal crises, isn't it? Grief, big life changes, existential wobbles.
Times when you're maybe more open or vulnerable.
Exactly. Jung thought the unconscious often speaks loudest through symbols when we're ready for growth, when the old structures are breaking down.
So that weird orb in your photo from that retreat or after that tough conversation, you might say that's not just lens flare, it's your soul, your deeper self, saying, hey, pay attention, deal with your baggage, become who you're meant to be.
It reframes it completely, doesn't it? From just an external mystery to a deeply personal, potentially transformative symbol.
Okay, aliens or therapy. I like this. It brings a bit of lightness to it. The idea of aliens as like intergalactic therapists, it's funny.
It is. But it also gets at that core Jungian idea, right? What if all this societal stress, all this collective anxiety we're swimming in is somehow projecting these saucer shapes into the sky?
Like the universe holding up a mirror and saying, guys, maybe look at yourselves for a second. So before we jump to ETs, maybe the question is, what are we freaking out about collectively?
Yeah, personally too. What's the last thing you got pushed aside, didn't want to deal with?
Yeah.
Jung might suggest that repressed stuff finds creative outlets, maybe even sky-high ones.
Food for thought, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, before we go deeper into Jung's specific writings, I want to give you some good news.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. If you're enjoying this deep dive, if you like this video and comment on it, YouTube actually gets a better sense of your taste. It'll start recommending more videos like this one to you. So definitely subscribe and maybe even share the video. Help the algorithm help you.
Good tip. Okay, so let's really get into Jung's book, Flying Saucers, a modern myth of things seen in the skies.
Right. Part 1, Jung and the UFOs, a modern myth that shakes the soul. We all know the standard UFO narrative, don't we? Grainy film, shaky eyewitness, something defying physics.
And then Jung comes along and says, hold on, what if this isn't primarily about extraterrestrials? What if it's a modern myth reflecting us our fears, our hopes, a world on edge?
It completely reframes the whole thing. Stop obsessing about what they are and start asking why we're seeing them or why the idea resonates so deeply.
That's the core of this deep dive, really. What do these lights mean for you personally? What nerve are they touching in our shared humanity?
And thinking about when Jung wrote this, at the early 50s, Cold War paranoia, nuclear fear, he directly linked the rise in sightings to that global crisis.
He did. And again, the parallels today, pandemics, climate chaos, technological upheaval. It feels like fertile ground, doesn't it? For the collective unconscious to stir.
So what's the universe or our deep psyche trying to tell us now? That's the question Jung forces us to ask.
Yet move beyond just, are they real aliens, to Why this phenomenon? Why now? He saw them mirroring our deepest anxieties about the unknown, the other, but also maybe our highest hopes for connection, for something bigger.
It comes back to those archetypes, right? From the collective unconscious. The flying saucer is a key one.
Yes, specifically its roundness, like a mandala, a symbol of wholeness, of the self, appearing when the world feels fragmented, broken.
Which, let's be honest, often feels pretty relevant. That feeling of life being a mess and just craving some kind of balance or coherence.
Exactly. And humans are storytellers, right? We need myths to make sense of things. Jung saw UFOs as maybe the 20th century's big new myth, replacing older sky myths like angels or gods or demons, a new way to grapple with our place in the cosmos.
What about your own personal myths? Your recurring dreams, strong gut feelings, moments of weird synchronicity? Jung would say pay attention to those too.
Absolutely. And he suggested looking at UFO waves historically. What was the world collectively freaking out about when sightings spiked?
Like the Pentanon videos in 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic madness. Interesting timing, to say the least.
Very. And while Jung was a psychologist, his ideas resonate strangely with modern science, as we said. Neuroscience, the brain making meaning from chaos. Quantum physics, maybe reality is more like a hologram. And UFOs are glitches, symbols, bridging worlds.
It's like Jung was this mystic in a lab coat, trying to connect the dots. He saw myths like the UFO story not just as stories, but as calls to action, pushing us towards individuation.
Towards becoming who we truly are, yeah. You can almost imagine the unconscious as a cosmic DJ spinning tracks, and those orbs, those weird lights, they're like the beat drop saying, wake up, engage with your fears, chase your dreams.
So what was the last beat drop from your own psyche? Maybe time to listen to the music.
Indeed. Now let's shift perspective again, look east. How might ancient wisdom traditions view these lights?
Okay, part 2. Hun, Shen, Xing, the soul's awakening in the sky. We usually tackle UFOs with a very Western lens, right? Science, proof. But lights in the sky having spiritual meaning is ancient stuff.
Totally. And Taoism offers this really beautiful framework with Hun, Shen, and Xing. It's like a map of the soul's journey, and it gives us another way to think about what these lights might mean for you.
You use a story, Liang. He sees an orb, and it kicks off this whole interchange. Tell us about that.
Right, Liang's feeling stuck, kind of disconnected. Then he sees this shimmering orb one night, not just a flash, but something that stays. Leaves him feeling different. Then come the dreams, this pull towards change. It's just an illustration of how the soul might communicate.
So it makes us think those times we saw something odd or just felt a weird vibe was something shifting inside us too, around the same time.
Exactly. Jung thought outer symbols often sync up with inner readiness for change. Taoism, with Hun, Shen, Xing, breaks down what might be awakening.
Let's get into them. Hun, the ethereal soul, connected to dreams, the cosmos.
Yeah, Hun is like the dreaming soul, the part attuned to spirit, to the vastness. Think of that awe you feel looking at stars. Jung might link it to the collective unconscious. Lang's orbs sparking dreams. That's his Hun being activated, showing him possibilities. What are your dreams, your quiet moments, showing you? That might be your Hun.
Okay, then Shen. Spirit, mind, the divine spark, connection to the infinite.
Shen is that light of consciousness within, our link to the source, our deepest intuition. Lang feeling that need for change after seeing the orb. That could be his Shen nudging him toward his true path. It's interesting how neuroscience finds meditation boosts feelings of awe, connection. Very Shen-like. What's your Shen whispering, urging you to do?
And Xing, innate nature, true self before the world messes with us.
Xing is your original blueprint, yeah. Before society layers on expectations. It's like Jung's individuation becoming authentically you. Lang's orb encounter acts like a mirror, reflecting back his buried creativity, his true Shen. Can you remember a time you felt totally, purely yourself? That's a glimpse of Xing. What's the orb reminding you about that self?
It's amazing how these different systems, Jungian psych and Taoism, kind of point to the same thing with these skylights. Deep personal meaning.
It is remarkable. And it's everywhere, isn't it? Aboriginal dreamtime stars, Sufi-like mysticism, modern UFO encounters changing lives, Hun, Shen, Sheng. Just give us one vocabulary for seeing these, not as random blips, but maybe steps in a cosmic dance of awakening. What story is your soul telling?
You even joked about Hun, Shen, and Xing being like a spiritual PR team tossing orbs at us.
Well, sometimes you need a nudge, right? The point is, Liang's orb wasn't just random, it was a signal. He was ready. What's the universe subtly marketing to you right now?
But it's not always bright and shiny, this journey. There's the shadow side, too. How does that fit in?
Ah, yes. The path to wholeness usually means facing the uncomfortable stuff, the shadow. And Jung thought that ties into UFOs, too.
Right. Part 3, the shadow collective and the alien projection. This idea is kind of heavy, that we might be projecting our collective darkness darkness onto the sky, turning our fears into UFOs.
It is heavy but powerful. Jung's shadow concept covers everything we repress or disown: fear, anger, insecurity. He suggests that this stuff doesn't just stay buried, it gets projected outward, onto people, onto situations, and maybe, collectively, onto the unknown in the sky.
And Liang's story takes that turn, right? His orb dream gets dark, shadowy, judgmental, making you wonder, is it aliens, ghosts, or him?
Exactly. His dream shows that process. Wonder turns unsettling. It forces him to look at himself, which makes us ask, when UFO sightings spike or the stories get scary, what are we collectively afraid of? And personally, what are you avoiding looking at?
You called the shadow the basement of the psyche, full of stuff we hide. And it leaks out, projects onto the world.
Yeah, Jung saw UFOs potentially as the collective shadows blockbuster movie, projecting our fear of the other, whatever that might be, invaders, tech we don't understand.
Think about how many UFO stories are about invasion or abduction. That fear, Jung might say, starts inside us.
And for Liang, the shadow orb reflects his inner stuff. Fear of failure, guilt, anger. It's his own psyche pushing him to deal with it. What's lurking in your shadow? What fears might you be projecting, maybe even onto unexplained things?
It makes sense on a collective level, too. The Cold War UFO boom tied to nuclear fear. Maybe today's sightings connect to fears about climate collapse or AI or social division.
Could be. Psychology talks about group dynamics, shared delusions, how fear spreads. But Jung also said the shadow isn't just bad, it's a teacher.
How so?
By facing it, integrating it, we grow. Maybe UFOs partly force us to confront those collective shadows. Liang's shadowy dream pushes him back to his art to integrate that fear. What could your shadow be trying to teach you?
And the whole alien is the other thing. That's an old pattern, isn't it? Projecting our stuff onto outsiders. UFOs are just the latest screen.
It seems plausible from that perspective. Liang's shadowy orb mirrors his own pain, his own feeling of being other. Have you ever felt like an outsider? How might that color how you see things?
You joked about aliens holding up a mirror to Earth's problems. Maybe not so funny.
Maybe not. But the point is reflection. UFOs, psychologically, can mirror both our light and our shadow.
But facing the shadow leads to transformation. Integrating it is key.
That's central to Jung. Don't repress it, integrate it. That's the path to wholeness. Liang's art becomes his integration. Maybe humanity's fascination with UFOs, making us ask big questions, confront fears, is part of our collective integration.
And facing darkness is part of many spiritual paths, right? A rite of passage. Liang's shadow orb is like a Zen koan, a riddle to make him think deeper.
Exactly. It's a challenge. Look deeper. Maybe the whole UFO enigma is a collective koan for humanity.
But Liang's journey doesn't end in darkness. The orb changes again, becomes brighter, hints at the self.
Yes, because confronting the shadow clears the way for something deeper, more whole to emerge. The self.
Okay, part 4. The orbs and the self dreams of wholeness. So now orbs in dreams, or during emotional times, they might be symbols of the self, a radiant core.
That's the idea. Jung saw the self as the ultimate goal, the integrated whole person. He often linked it to circles, mandalas, orbs. Luminous orbs appearing, especially in dreams or peak moments, could be the self announcing itself, calling us home.
And Liang dreams of a brighter orb with a radiant eye that gives him hope, gets him painting again. That sounds like the self emerging after the shadow work.
It's a powerful symbol, isn't it? Higher consciousness, clarity, awareness. Coming after he faced his fears, it signals he's integrating, moving toward wholeness. That feeling of hope is key.
So when we have those weird light dreams or see orbs in photos from meaningful times, what part of us is trying to shine through?
It's a great question to ask. Jung believed these symbols aren't random. They carry messages, point towards our potential. The orb is like a picture of that inner radiance wanting expression.
And this isn't just Jung. Orb dreams during big life changes show up across cultures, right? Like the self breaking through when things get shaken up.
It's a common theme. Crisis, transformation. And then these symbols of wholeness appear in dreams. Jung saw it as the self providing an anchor, a sense of underlying unity, even in chaos.
You connect it to lucid dreaming research, too. How vivid imagery can spark self-awareness.
There's a potential link. Lucid dreams involve conscious awareness within the dream. Maybe seeing a powerful symbol like an orb in that state could trigger a deeper connection to the self, intuitively.
What about real-life orbs in photos? Funerals, meditations, times when the self might be closer to the surface. You link that back to Taoism, too, Shen and Xing.
Exactly. Moments of deep emotion, focus, spiritual connection. The veil feels thinner. Maybe orbs appear then as a visual visual sign of being closer to the self, that divine spark, Shen, aligned with our true nature.
And again, light's a spirit guide's universal theme. Modern UFO encounters that change lives. Maybe they're tapping into that ancient pattern. You mentioned synchronicity here too.
Yes, light as guidance is everywhere. Transformative UFO encounters echo that. And synchronicity, meaningful coincidence linking inner and outer worlds, fits perfectly. An orb appearing at just the right moment. Maybe not chance, maybe the self, the universe, orchestrating a meaningful sign.
And the self as a cosmic cheerleader waving orbs. Love it.
Just a bit of fun.
Yeah.
But it emphasizes encouragement. These signs are potentially guiding us.
So the message is pay attention, especially in deep moments. Lights, insights, dreams. They could be whispers from yourself.
Just like Lang's dream was pivotal, these subtle cues can guide us if we're open to them.
But the big but, what if they are real, more than symbols, more than projections? What if there's something external?
The billion-dollar question. Jung focused on the psyche, but he didn't totally rule out an external factor. It's the enduring mystery.
Part 5. EC for real. The cosmic truth beyond the symbol. Grappling with maybe actual visitors. Cosmic guides.
Right. Jung gives us a powerful psychological lens, but the question of objective reality hangs there. What if there's something truly other involved?
And Liang's final encounter, the radiant orb seen by him and his neighbor, caught on video. That really muddies the waters between inner projection and outer reality.
It does. A shared, verifiable sighting forces us to consider. Maybe it's not just psychology. It pushes us to stay open to an external reality, even while acknowledging our inner world shapes how we see it.
And you say, maybe there's more than one truth here. Revisiting synchronicity, that deep link between inner thoughts and outer events.
Exactly. Synchronicity suggests meaningful connections that aren't simple cause and effect. Could a UFO appearing at a key moment be that? A bridge between inner and outer, hinting at a deeper interconnectedness.
So Liang's final witnessed orb, maybe it's a synchronicity, his inner awakening mirrored by something happening in the shared external world.
Its a compelling possibility suggests reality might be structured in a way where inner and outer resonate, influence each other. A liminal space.
And science is still looking, right? SETI listening for signals, strange fast radio bursts from space, the Pentagon admitting some UAPs are unexplained.
Yes, the scientific search continues. SETI is direct. FRBs are mysterious. The UAP reports acknowledge unknowns. There are things happening that demand investigation separate from the psychological angle.
You even mentioned fringe physics, panpsychism, consciousness everywhere, quantum entanglement, deep connection. Could that bridge the gap?
These ideas stretch our models. If consciousness isn't just in brains, if things are deeply entangled, maybe orbs are both physical and conscious, maybe inner states can link to outer events in ways we barely grasp. It dissolves the hard line between mind and matter.
And back to the spiritual view. Lights as messengers, orbs as Shen, the divine spark.
Always that perspective too. Light as divine guidance is ancient. Maybe orbs are modern expressions of that, connecting us to something sacred in ways beyond current science.
And we have to acknowledge the persistent stories, however controversial. Abduction accounts, whistleblowers, suggesting real intelligences.
It's part of the landscape. Critical thinking is essential, but the sheer volume of claims keeps the possibility open. Jung himself didn't close that door. Maybe UFOs are both mirrors and messengers, phenomena from outside and reflections of inside.
And aliens sending orbs like cosmic post-it notes. Just a little reminder.
A playful thought. Maybe communication happens in subtle ways we miss.
So the bottom line is, keep an open mind. Look for meaning beyond just real or fake.
Exactly. Whether they're psyche, ETs, spirit guides, or some blend we can't imagine, their persistence tells us they mean something. They push us to question reality, our place in it.
So are UFOs real? Jung's answer seems to be a messy, complex, fascinating yes, no, and maybe most importantly, look in the mirror. Lamb's whole journey, skepticism, shadow work, seeing the self, the final shared sighting, shows how these encounters, real or symbolic, can seriously shake us up, challenge us, and maybe guide us toward being more whole.
Yeah, Liang's story is like a map of that potential. Whatever their ultimate source, these phenomena act as catalysts. They make us look deeper, question everything.
So let's wrap this up with a call to action, kind of in the spirit of this deep dive. Next time you see a weird light or just feel that cosmic itch, don't just shrug. Engage with it. Maybe journal, paint, meditate. Just go stargaze with an open heart. Explore your own inner cosmos.
That's where the real discoveries often happen.
And hey, if you enjoyed digging into this with us, please do give this video a like and definitely leave a comment. Tell us your orb stories, your moments of synchronicity. We love hearing them. And make sure you subscribe to the Quantum Soul channel. That's at the Quantum quantum soul for you, so you don't miss the surprising revelations we've got coming up.
We want to keep exploring these intersections of science, spirit, and the psyche with you.
Because ultimately, the truth isn't just out there somewhere. A lot of it is right here, inside you, just waiting to shine.
Beautifully put. The journey outward and the journey inward are really two sides of the same coin.
Absolutely. Now, don't go anywhere just yet. We've got 2 more videos lined up for you right here on the screen. Click whichever one grabs your curiosity and continue your journey with us.